Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to ShoutCraft Kings. Your current king, the one and only Patience, picking up a map against none other than Dark. Excellent play, you can't really argue with play of that caliber. Dark, unfortunately, not quite up to it, despite an excellent start from the Zerg player. Really great early Baneling bomb doing significant damage, but wasn't able to repeat that performance.
Well, he was taking damage at the same time. I mean, that was just what was so beautiful about Patience play, was every time it felt like there was something that Dark could do, Patience was doing the same and maybe better.
Yeah, couldn't agree more with that one, honestly. It was an excellent performance by him, no doubt about it, but I think the defining part of this tournament is whether or not you can actually repeat that performance. Getting a win in a best of one, that's easy enough. Being able to repeat it against a player perhaps of a different race, a player with a different style, with no prep, well, that's a different matter entirely, and only the best players can do it. Let's see if Patience could be one of the few that's managed to pull that off today. And I have quite the opponent for him, no doubt. This is a man I think most people should know. If they've been around the StarCraft scene for a while, they're going to be very familiar with him. He's been around since the dawn of time, frankly, and is having something of a revival, a second coming, as it were. It's the one and only Alive.
Yeah, Alive has been playing beyond himself. I mean, he's been around since Wings of Liberty, and he was always, like, pretty good back then. He definitely, you know, has threatened to win some tournaments and won some tournaments, but the form he's in right now makes people think that he deserves, and maybe he does, to be discussed up there with your Maru, your TY, your absolute top-tier Terrans. He's playing at that place.
That he is. No doubt about it. Cactus Valley will be the venue. We'll be starting momentarily, but if you're not aware of what Alive's been doing lately, well, you might want to have a look at what he was able to accomplish in the IEM Katowice World Finals that happened very, very recently. His performance was exceptional. One of the best performances of his career, no doubt. He's been playing out of his mind on line as well, of course, competing in all of those events. He's done really well in SSL so far, in fact, especially in TVT, but he's also been doing well against Protoss. The only Protoss he's actually lost to was SOS in a pretty close series. Alive is ready to go, so we're going to start the countdown. But yeah, the real story, of course, being the World Championships. 2-1 Jakchi, 2-0 Harstam, 2-0 Neeb, 2-0 TY, the eventual winner, 2-1 Stats, 3-2 Innovation, and then a loss in the rematch to TY 2-3. That's insane. That's a ridiculous set of statistics.
You look good doing it. Alive has always been a huge proponent of dropping, which I know doesn't sound super amazing, because all Terrans are, but Alive, he takes that to a different degree. It's a bit of an obsession with him. So I'm excited to see a TVP between him and Patience, because Patience is also a scary Protoss, and that his playstyle is he's like always on the verge of killing you. So dropping in that situation is kind of scary.
Couldn't agree more. Let's see what happens. The challenger, ladies and gentlemen, to the northeast position in the red trunks, playing Terran. One of the veterans of this particular game, it's Alive. Versus his opponent to the northwest position. In the blue trunks, playing Protoss, our reigning king of the hill. Can he be one of the few today to survive more than a single map? It's Patience.
They do spawn on the top portion of this map, which does make dropping a little bit more difficult. You'd like to be kind of below the Protoss so that you can attack through the front door or challenge the third through counterattacks, and then also drop the main. From here, it's not like you can't still do those things. You just have to travel further, and it's more likely to be found. But there's that thing I was talking about. So Patience takes that second gas. In the PvT matchup, that second gas right there is a little bit more unusual. A lot of Protoss will hold off on that until after they expand. But Patience has always been... And you'll notice he only has one probe on one of the gases and two on the other, so he's very particular about not, you know, disrupting his mineral income while doing that. It's interesting.
Yeah, it's an odd staggered approach, but it's obviously something that he's timed out and he's very comfortable with. So whatever works for him, certainly.
Right.
He'll eventually build up to 3 in each, but yeah, it's just gradually ramping it up there.
He scouts, when he sees the CC on the low ground at that time, he can infer what's coming up behind that. It's probably a Reaper. Could it be a Marine in a faster factory? Yeah, it could be. But both of those fall into kind of the similar range. He's always going to make either an Adept or a Stalker and have that Mothership Core. So if it is a Reaper, that's going to be fine. And if it's not that, then the timing on that factory is negligible in terms of if you go with Marine or Reaper.
Up goes the Reaper. It scouts, it sees, it knows. There's not much to stop it at the moment, but the Mothership Core is about to pop. Disrupting the mining ever so slightly with a cheeky little grenade. Not gonna have any real impact in the long run, but just letting him know, hey, I'm here, and I'm not gonna let you build that uncontested. I'm gonna do something about it, and we see that Widow Mine coming up with a starport, so we may see that 6 Marine Widow Mine drop, or potentially even waiting for 2 mines. We've seen a couple of different combos of that. Oh, a surround! Uncharacteristic mistake by Alive to allow himself to get caught there, losing his Reaper to probes.
It does do its job, though. Like,
yes.
It scouts and sees. Wow, this is weird. We're gonna have a little bit of a Mothership Core push here. Not accomplishing super much, actually. It's gonna get a depot.
But look at that pylon, though. That.
Yeah.
I mean, it's interesting. You know, it's putting a bit of pressure on Alive. It's gonna put him in a supply block situation. He's gonna, by the looks of it, get 2 supply depots out of it, maybe. If he, it forces dudes off the line, right? You know, you're gonna lose some SCVs, maybe.
Yeah, it's definitely okay. The Robo Scout behind this, though, to finish my point, which means that he's not expecting Stargate, so we can kind of eliminate the possibilities of those things being an issue. I do like this pylon. I'd even say more than just it was okay. Like, getting the 2 depots, you can see Alive is still supply blocked, and only just now realizing that's the case. No, excuse me, that was his 2nd depot being added here. But he's been supply blocked this entire time. But also with a player like an Alive, if you can just throw them off their game, you can have a greater impact on them too. Like, they're very timing oriented.
It's a very interesting idea because historically, you don't really wall off against Protoss most of the time. But since, of course, the adoption of the Adept, some players have been doing so because they don't want Adept Shades to get into their base as easily. The problem with that, of course, being that if you put your supply depots at the front, you become vulnerable to ranged attacks, and we see that pylon push being used as a way to do that. Very effective. Alive sending in a Cyclone, which does beat, I think, 2 Adepts straight up, but of course the Stalkers are going to chase it away. Or maybe not. Okay, that was a little odd.
Gets lazy, but
yeah, kind of just a straight trade, I think, between those 2.
Yeah, the Cyclone doesn't, like, get super much better as the game goes on in that situation, so it's mostly fine. But it does see the Immortal, and Immortal at that time, off that low econ, kind of suggests push. Which is interesting, because he's got Marine tanks, so the push should not be super strong. But we can see that there's actually a War Prism coming out.
Indeed. And there's... In response to that, Alive attempted to do a little bit of damage, ended up focusing the Mothership Core, trying to catch it and getting it. And getting out with it too. Where did that Liberator go? There we go, it deploys. Patience has
nice
eyes
positioning
on it.
On the Stalkers, though. If the Stalkers aren't there, this game's like already over. It's already looking bad for Patience, but even just the missed mining time on that natural while he's trying to do an Immortal drop, basically, would be so bad for his economy. So bad.
It certainly would. Patience now looking to try and play a little bit of catch-up. He's not too far behind, but he's certainly taken some punches. He's now looking for this Adept drop. Not a hugely dangerous Adept drop. It's not backed up by resonating glaives or anything along those lines, but it can certainly get something done, because most of the army is across the map at the moment. Very small Protoss army versus a relatively dangerous Terran army, but these Adepts now being in the mix are going to cause a few problems here for Alive.
It's buying him time, too, on top of this. So it stops the mining of the natural, which is good in its own right. But also, you'll notice Alive's army's coming back, which is never a good thing, but it has to.
High ground
There's
warp
so little
in.
production.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't have a choice now. There's 6 adepts, so you got the high ground warp in there with the warp prism. He's going to lose the prism, which was a bit unfortunate. I think he could have probably seen that coming. He's going to try and adept shade out and do as much damage as he can. He gets 7 workers, and
No depots, by the way.
Indeed. Should be able to... I don't know if he's going to be able to get out. I think that tank's going to shut it down. Gets a few more workers in the process.
And every worker is a huge wound. Like, all of a sudden,
it really is.
Supply advantage. He hasn't taken a third, but he's been adding immortals this entire time. He's got another Warp Prism coming out. And Alive has... You know, he's got Stim about to finish, but not a lot of production. No upgrades beyond that, really. I don't think he has an eBay at all.
He's just started one. Very far behind. He's just about to finish Stim. 7.5 minutes into the game in Legacy of the Void. That is quite late. And honestly, he's been kind of skimping on skimming on SCVs. He didn't have a huge number, and that's now taken him down to sub 30. He's just starting to rebuild now. Both these guys on 2 bases. Neither seem too willing to expand. We got another Warp Prism drop. Now, obviously, this 2-base style isn't going to last all that long for either of these guys. They're going to mine out pretty quickly. Nice little cheeky drop on the way out. Doesn't lose it.
And then there's just his army.
Indeed. Patience doesn't have much of one, but yeah, exactly. Supply depots are obviously not something that Alive is too interested in protecting, which is a problem, because these supply blocks are happening more and more, and with a lowered SCV count, you want to be spending money on SCVs and mules. You want to be spending energy on mules rather than supply drops. Of course, pro players do use supply drop from time to time, but considering Alive never protects his supply depots, I would never bother. You know, they're just going to get blown up anyway. Oh, looks like we have... Oh, a little bit of lag. Nope, we're cleared up. Good.
Just a moment.
Alive now finally getting a bit of a counterattack going on, and there's not actually that much here to defend. The mothership core is elsewhere at the moment, so damage is going to be done here. More than just damage. Significant damage. Huge amounts of damage. 19 workers killed overall in just a few seconds. A quick turnaround, and Alive with... You were mentioning his drop focus play. Great example of that right there.
And that'll be how he claws back into this, by the way.
Indeed.
Like, he got the worst spot for dropping against this Protoss player, but he's behind, and if he's going to be able to get back into it, it's through that. Now, I say he's behind, but as I look at it, he actually is leapfrogged up in supply. It's not all just about supply. I'm more looking at the fact that Patience has his third, but that's not going to be... it's all about this attack, because what's coming right now is basically a 2-base all-in. If this attack works, great, we win. If it doesn't, great, we're dead. Says Alive. He's going to put it all on the line right here.
Yep. And he has a pretty strong army, but a lot of it's really going to come down to how well those Widow Mines connect. If they connect well, excellent. But bear in mind, Patience's army actually is a ton of sentries. He has 11.
Yeah, why?
There's
so
very low damage in this army. I don't know if this is really going to help all that much. We'll have to see some excellent force fields, but... I mean, they're ranged units. There's only so much you can really do. The Liberators are now deployed, and that didn't work out well for the Protoss at all.
I don't understand the 11th century. That's really odd. Like, Liberators alone just wrecked that. We saw one Widow Mine hit and killed like 4. There's another one killing the last
Place is on the high ground, but he's losing a lot of units here. The Liberators are deployed. GG, the King is dead once again. It's one of those months, and Alive slaughters Patience. But that was a very interesting back and forth between those two.
It was a great game. It was really cool, and it was looking like it was going to be really bad for Alive. But that drop, like you said, does huge damage. And then I think the savvy choice, too, was not to try and force too much stuff. Like I was pointing out, well, his upgrades are behind. He's not taking a third. I think if he tries to do too much of those kind of things and have an army that can perhaps threaten Patience, then he's not playing to his strengths in that situation. They get the close spawns. So, you know, go for the attack. Lose some SCVs. That's not as big of a deal off of 2 bases. It's a bigger deal the more bases the game, you know, starts to see.
It was just amazing to watch both players doing so much harassment damage to each other. Great run-bys, great drops from both guys. Really smart play. I loved the pylon push. Very effective. A great little answer to the meta of walling off against adepts.
Yep.
It was an excellent game from both players. And Alive puts another one on the board against the Protoss, which is by no means an uncommon thing for him lately. Such a beast. You know, it would be really great to see Alive in 2017 actually win a major. That would be a great nostalgia trip, I think.
Be interesting. There's not as many events to win, so if any major win is a big freaking deal, especially in this year.
That's true. He's got those 3rd and 4th places. The last major he actually won, 2012, of course, IGN Pro League Season 4, back in the day, 3-0 against Squirtle. I can't believe the finals for IGN Pro League was a best of 5. Man. They really pulled a full dream hack on that one, didn't they? As we wait for our next opponent, ladies and gentlemen, we're gonna read off a few more messages from the Ting line. Of course, we'll be contacting winners at the end of the show. You can call 1-888-6-Cheese. That's 1-888-6-Cheese. Answer the question, there is a Zergling in your living room. How exactly do you deal with it? Would like to know. Let's hear a few more from our ever-accurate transcription bot.
This one says, "Hello, it's Tagline here. If there is going in my living room, I would do the appropriate thing and offer it to once we became friends. I wouldn't have to ask you to leave, because it would be polite and do so on its own." That's really nice.
Yeah, I like the diplomatic approach to that. It's good.
Make a friend and they'll just kind of, they'll know when to go.
Not so much murder.
Hello, I would put the beast to sleep using the soothing voice of John Bank. John Bank.
John Bank, yes. That's a nickname that I give myself when I'm in the club, if you didn't know. A common occurrence.
Their world circling in my living room right now.
Wow.
I don't have to do that plan B, which is immediately evacuate to Haynes Canadian and wait for him to deal with it for me. That's pretty much plan B. And surgeons in my living room, plan A is already every goddamn window.
Oh my.
I can't even begin. There's actually a lot of these, by the way, guys. Thank you for phoning this in.
Indeed, we appreciate it. Our ever-accurate text... Well, it's speech-to-text bot, not the other way around, is transcribing the voicemail messages for us. Is doing a phenomenal job, so well done to the bot for getting some words.
Yeah, there's definitely words here for sure.
There are. I don't know if they're in the right order, but hey.
Hi, I'm Sam. And if I had a Zergling in my living room, I would just welcome them in and then raise them as one of my own. Why is this in perfect English, by the way? Like, you need to tell us how you're speaking that this bot understands you.
He's the bot whisperer, is what he is. He speaks their language. They understand him, truly.
Raise them as one of my own and send them to school, and by the time he was of age, no pride to provide the support I needed. There we go. It's falling apart now. And allow them to move out on his own religion. Anyway, you guys have a great ShoutCraft. Please.
He's just pleading. It's like, please have a good show. I don't think we've had a problem with that. I've had a blast so far today. We've seen some streaks, which is nice.
The games have been great. That's all that's important to me. I don't care about streaks or whatever. It's fun when that happens because it's kind of crazy to see someone get into dominant form, but the games have been so good. I mean, even Sue goofing around gave us one of the best moments I've had in StarCraft in a long time. That was amazing.
It was great. Comedic, no doubt about it.
But I mean, imagine goofing around and beating Zest. Like, it's pretty cool. Because I can't imagine it.
No.
I'll read a couple more while you're doing that.
I can try and imagine it, but
no.
There's the idea that you are so below the level of somebody that even with your imagination you couldn't accurately envision that level of skill. It's just not even possible.
Yeah, absolutely. I have no endlessly by asking him if he's played longer to you at he leave.
Sure.
That one's probably not going to win.
Where'd you get that impression from?
It's just a feeling. I've got a sense for these things. I had a living room Or, if I had a Zergling in my living room, I would call an exterminator, and you should get my favorite player.
Okay, is that a demand?
I think it became a little demandy at the end there.
It's like, yeah, it was just innocuous up until that point, and then he starts making threats. Yeah. I'm like, what?
Answering question.
I mean, I appreciate your passion.
Do as I say.
It's passion. Oh, wow. All right. Okay, enough of that silliness, ladies and gentlemen. I got a player for ya. I really enjoyed watching a live play TVP, so I'd like to watch it again. What do you think? Sound like a good idea? Good. Yeah. Sounds like a great idea. Let's do exactly that. We've only got 3 players left, folks, but every single one of them is a blinder. Will it be enough to defeat somebody as good as alive, considering his current streak and form? Perhaps something of a wild card, this guy. Capable of beating anybody on a good day. It's Neeb.
Neeblet. All right.
I'm not going to call him that. I believe he is, yes. I think he is. He goes back and forth between the two places. I'm fairly sure he's in Korea. On the Korean server, it's fairly rare to see an American play on the Korean server willingly, so yeah, we're ready to rock and roll. We're going to see another TVP, because I just feel like I haven't quite got a good enough helping of it from Alive. That was a nice appetizer. I want the main course.
Yeah, Neeb, one of the big fan favorites for foreigners in particular. I think it's only fair to say, if we've been kind of marching down through a lot of these guys and saying they haven't been having as good of a time as they once did. I think Neeb definitely falls in that category of someone who, for a while, we definitely called the undisputed foreigner champion, if you will, the top performer.
Yeah.
I think one of the coolest things about him is, kind of like Stefano before him, he actually had a huge impact on the overall meta of a matchup. PvP was played very differently before he kind of came along. But since then, not as much amazing results. Still, obviously, the top-notch player. Still the horrifically, overly self-negative and self-deprecating about his play type of guy. But that's a common trait amongst top StarCraft players as well.
That is very true, especially the foreign ones, unfortunately. Just happens to be the thing. And the problem, I suppose, with being the top dog foreigner, remember earlier I was talking about ByuL being a marked man, essentially, being a guy with a target on his back, the most analyzed player. Well, if you become a foreigner that is beating good Koreans in Best of X series, suddenly all of Korea just looks at you simultaneously. It's creepy. Like, they'll all turn around at once, stare into your soul, and pull the builds from your mind. That's happened so many times. We've seen someone go on a streak against Koreans, and then suddenly they get figured out and they start losing again. Neeb, I think, is that guy, and it's not his fault. Like, I'm not speaking negatively about Neeb in any way. It's just that happens so very often. In the last 6 or 7 years of StarCraft 2, we've seen it time and again.
Yep. It's just less common for that person to do that, to be a foreigner. It just almost never happens. There's just, especially to go to Korea and win a tournament. I know that's where everyone kind of keeps going back to, but it's just such a big deal in our world of StarCraft for a foreigner to do that. But Neeb, still, we're uncertain if he's in Korea right now, but the picture you should have painted for you is that if he isn't in Korea, he's still traveling to Korea to train and is taking this as serious as you can. He is a self-sponsored man by Ting, which also sponsors this event, which is also awesome. And I love his gameplay in general. So the results falling off have been it's a little bit sad for him, but it's just cool to see him play because he's a fun player to watch.
Yeah, I agree. And he's always willing to take part in pretty much any event, showcase his skill. And as much as he is very self-deprecating, can get very down on his play, I think he gets up and puts the gloves back on really quickly. Even
it's
after...
It's a different kind of self-deprecating. It's not like Idris self-deprecating where they'll actually talk themselves into a loss. It was more like usually he's being interviewed on stage after he beats someone really good, and he'll be like, I don't know why you're cheering for me, I'm not that good. And you're like, okay. That's not true, obviously.
It does make hyping him up tricky, let me put it that way. I recall, of course, his crushing loss at BlizzCon, which I had the misfortune of casting. I was very much looking forward to that series, and we'd actually been instructed after the first match, the production team back there is like, we need more hype. We want more hype on this event. It's like, all right, gotcha.
TotalBiscuit and Maynard got your back, buddy.
Completely overdid it. 100% overdid it. And then Neeb gets crushed in under 20 minutes at a best of 5. It's like, well, that's unfortunate. But even after that, you know, he didn't take it too badly. He was unhappy for a little while, but right back on the horse right after that. And continuing to compete. I got nothing but respect for any player that can do that. And I always enjoy watching Neeb play. Neeb is the guy that made me like PvP. And I think the only time that it's ever happened before was back at the SanDisk Invitational. I believe it was Hero versus Zest in a best of 7. Was one of the best PvP of all time, in my opinion. Not to blow my own trumpet, but I am that damn good.
Sure.
It was amazing. But regularly, when I see Neeb play PvP, I'm just like, this is a really cool mirror now.
Yep.
Oh, and that was a cool Widow Mine. Alive.
Cool. Got to give some love to Blizzard, another one of our sponsors too. I think they've done a lot to make the matchup and just Protoss in general a more fun race to play and watch. Been a lot of like periods of time where Protoss was the like gotcha bitch race where it's like, you didn't see that coming, gotcha, and that was the whole game. And then if it didn't work, they were just dead. And then PvP it's had some of the worst streaks of time where it like still happens today. One of my favorite things, you'll watch these commentators, watch like Tastosis do this and stuff. They'll be like, all right, guys, we got our PvP, but hey, don't go anywhere. This is actually a great
don't
matchup
leave,
now.
please.
It's really fun. Yeah, they're like apologetic about it. It's really funny.
I remember it was towards the end of Wings of Liberty, the Zerg dominance period, Broodlord and Fester. We were having to do that for ZVZ because there was so much of it. A little Widow Mine that could here. I'm gonna try and do some damage, and whee! Up and down, up and down.
Dogging.
Well, he just gave up. It's like, you know what? I'm not sinking my APM into this shit. Stop it. Yeah. just quit it. You probably don't even have detection. I bet you don't. And he's right, actually. There is no detection. There's a photon cannon coming up, which should complete. And actually, no, it's not going to complete before it fires again. So that's good. In the meantime, of course, we see Phoenix being something of a pain. Nice to have. You might think, oh, Phoenix versus Widow Mine sounds like a bad idea. Well, one, Phoenix are very tough, and two, great to grab those damn things if you got detection.
You know what? I think he pulled... I don't know if he's that good, but he pulled the probes away just as the cooldown on the Widow Mine went.
I think he is that good, you know.
That's the thing. There are people that know that and are that good, and he would be one of them that does, but... I don't know. There's also a tendency in StarCraft for some people to be like, everything is on purpose and magical and it's amazing, but some stuff's just dumb luck, but that one might not have been.
Well, the current situation is we've got that aggressive drop from Alive, who's currently economically behind, having been, of course, won. Oh, that Widow Mine in a... You'd have thought would have been in a better position, but that's just what mines do sometimes. Almost an adept magic box there, just trying to avoid the damage. Another drop, getting aggressive, and now doing some economic damage, but here's the big lift. The Phoenix have already been harassing the mineral lines of the Terran play, and of course, it's a 2-base versus 3-base situation, so Alive's economically behind. He needs to do something, but I'm a bit worried for him, honestly. He's got quite a lot of Marines, but there's a good amount of adepts, and Resonating Glaive just kicked in, yo, and +1 ground weapon. So far, so pretty damn good for Neeb.
Yeah, a little bit curious because Alive pokes in at the third, and he had 2 medevacs that got away, for the most part, clean. And he left them on the left side. They didn't do anything. They're going to run to the natural here and try to get some damage in, but those kind of attacks are best happening at the same time. But who am I? He's going to actually get this robo.
Lovely pick off. Excellent play. Here. And he decides, of course, to fight there, knowing that, hey, the adepts aren't here yet. We can do a little bit more damage. Yeah, okay, we'll probably lose some of the drop. But he gets out with, I think, as many as he possibly could have. He's just realizing, all right, I'm probably losing this. Drop everything, do as much damage as possible. Just be a pain in the ass. But honestly, so far, so good for Neeb. I've been impressed by his defense up to this point. His harassment's been on point as well. Great use of the Phoenix. His adept-heavy style, by heavy I mean I'm just not going to build anything else, has worked for him so far.
Yeah, Phoenix Adept is actually a strong composition in the meta right now. You can kind of see why. Like, what are you supposed to do? If you drop against it, the Phoenix obviously has a lot of strength to clean up there. You want to make Marines because they're making Phoenix. Well, guess what? Adepts are good against those Marines. We've seen a couple of different kind of responses from the Terran player. There's been a lot of 2-base play, a lot of Marine and Widowmine heavy play. We're seeing a little bit of both here from Alive, but you can also kind of get the sense that Alive is uncomfortable. He's a little bit disjointed with his attacks.
Yeah. He's definitely getting thrown off. These little sweeps from the Phoenixes are always going to be annoying, and they're always going to do damage. You could even dump down missile turrets, which Alive is avoiding. Now, he's putting everything he's got mostly into Marine production at the moment. But even a couple of missile turrets are not really enough to stop that harass, because Phoenixes are deceptively tough.
Yeah. Yeah, they're I mean, that being said, there's still a decent number of medevacs. I know 1 or 2 have been picked off by those Phoenix, but the medevac count is one of the ways you get up there. There's a criminy, there's a shit ton of
my
God. On top of the army.
Evacuation was the absolute best thing to do there. Considering the adept I'm gonna sit on your face kind of move, that's not as kinky as it sounds, it seems like mines would be a really good investment here, although they'll probably blow up most of the Terran as well. But at this point, Alive is in full retreat as Neeb aggressively moves into the best defensive position he can. Liberator's in position here as well, but Alive, Neeb just sent him home, packing.
Yeah,
uh-oh, warping, huge warping, more adepts as if we needed more of them into the main camping production.
He's gonna get right on top of that, and even if this will all get cleaned up, he's killing more SCVs again.
Yeah.
And it's really hard for Terran to come back from this. Now, it looks like Neeb might jump on it. No, he's going to separate off here. And he's going after the third.
Like
really
it.
Nice move.
Yeah, that was a bit of a bait and switch there. He was heading towards what looked like a dive on top of the army, but he didn't. Alive pulls back as quickly as he can, but another 20 workers down. It's 76 pros versus 36 workers right now. Neeb is beating the hell out of a guy who has been dominant over the past few weeks against the best damn Protoss in the world.
He's taking a bad fight here and has to be careful
needs
about
to get
the
out.
snowball effect. He is winning economically. He's transitioning into double Colossus, but they're not going to have range. They're just now queued up. They do take a while to build. So does Alive hang back here? I think so, because if you look in the main, actually, it's still taking more damage.
Yeah, and Neeb kind of needs to do this because +2/+2 is about to kick in. The medevac count, though, is pathetically low right now because of the amount of damage it just took in that previous fight. So even if he did go for a big push, it's not supported. And look at all those orange health Marines. There's not enough energy here to fix him up yet, so he needs a few. That's going to hold him back. So I think Neeb gets away with it. A bit audacious from him to commit so much to one unit, but it got his 4th, and that means his massive probe count can now be used to full effect.
Well, we'll see. The whole game comes up with this right here. Alive has been battered back and forth. I'm going to go for kind of a doom drop here with the Liberators. That makes for a very strong push, by the way. Colossus will not have range in the most immediate fight, but the splitting off of this army is going to be really hard. That 4th should be dead at the very least.
You would think so, you know. Neeb has got maybe a little bit greedy, spread himself too thin. One way or the other, this is a big drop with a lot of support, and I'm sorry, no amount of pylons is going to stop that. This is a potential main gutting situation, and of course, what great positioning as everything goes up the ramp and gets smacked by those Liberators. Even if this is driven away, that's a lot of Protoss dead, and as your prediction holds true, the 4th falls.
Yeah, but he's, I think trying to go up that ramp was a curious thing. He I guess, decided that he had to, but in doing so, he lost most of his army.
He did. That economic advantage evidently not translating, a perhaps dodgy decision. Regardless of having a lot of probes, the 4th has now fallen, so that doesn't really translate to much, and suddenly Alive coming back from the dead.
Yeah, he's very much so here. There's still some Phoenix being annoying, but, well, it's close, but you got to give it to Alive right now. If the Colossus count was any higher, had he not lost the 1, I think maybe even 2 Colossus going up that ramp, and we had, 4 or 5 Colossus right now, all of a sudden I'm looking at Neeb and I'm feeling pretty okay. His ability to just win the straight-up fight is in his ball court, but right now,
no force fields. Alive just jumped right on top of it. Those Colossi, I mean, they have nowhere to run. They're all going to fall here. He kites back as best as he can, but he loses key units, which take a lot to replace. Alive's army supply isn't incredible, but The Protoss army supply is even worse, frankly, in comparison. And we've got 3-3 on the way.
Oh.
Great Widowmine hit as well, just to add insult to injury. Salt in the wound there. Alive is doing incredibly well and was able to make it happen regardless of that massive economic deficit. What an excellent bit of crisis management from Alive. GG. And regardless of the excellent performance of Neeb, it just wasn't quite enough.
Yeah, it was tough. Neeb got a little bit spaced out. Like, he does all this damage to the Terran player, and then takes the 4th, which he obviously loses essentially for free, and is completely out of position to receive the drop in the main, despite opening up Phoenix Adept. So something about that tells you that, you know, things didn't go as well as planned. Like, they did these really cool fights. He tried to kill Liberators with the Phoenix, but in doing so, lost most of his Phoenix. So his ability, his map presence fell away, and that's where he lost the game. Like, if that drop is received by 5 Stalkers and a couple of Pylons with Photon Overcharge, it never happens. He doesn't lose the army at the ramp, and then maybe he doesn't have to defend the 4th, or he does and has the army to do it. You know, it's a different game from that point.
Yeah, those Phoenixes, considering the count, were not effective drop defense in that situation, and that was a huge turnaround. It was a very efficient fight on top of that ramp. Those Liberators paid for themselves many times over with the amount of damage they were able to do, and we even saw the Colossus kind of wandering off the cliff, you know, and fighting in a position where it could be hit as opposed to using its range advantage. It was a slip-up, no doubt, I think. It was a misstep from Neeb, and regardless of his economic lead, you can still lose to a determined enough and well-positioned enough army.
But otherwise, a well-played game by Neeb, by the way. Like, he had Alive on the ropes. It was really well executed, and Alive is one of the hardest players to play TVP because of what we just saw. He was way behind in so many different ways, but because of how good of his drop play is, he like almost always has a chance to win anyways, which is just kind of crazy that he's that good that way.
He turned it around. There's no doubt about it, and it was a hell of a match there from Alive, and we asked, who's good enough to survive more than one map? Well, Alive joins a very exclusive club.
Yeah,
excellent play from him.
Months.
I'm getting really excited about Alive right now, but honestly. Like, Alive's not the sort of player who's really been on the brain of most people over the last few years. You know, back obviously in 2012, he was extremely relevant, and then he fades somewhat into the background. Doesn't really win much. And then over the last few months, it's his renaissance is what it is. It's his golden age. And it's really cool to see. You know, in a scene where most teams in Korea have fallen apart, we then see these individuals managing to thrive in a difficult environment.
Yep. I think that's a very good point and super interesting. I thought MC was one of the ones that really proved that for me too, where it was like he had pretty middling results when he was in a hardcore mega practice team, but then when he kind of went out on his own and obviously still practiced a lot, that's not what I'm taking away from him, but not in the restricted team environment, he actually then became what we know now, which is, you know, a legend.
Some people perform very well in a very regimented, coach-driven team environment. Some people prosper. Some people do not. And then on the other hand, some people as individuals, maybe just practicing with who they want to practice with, competing in a lot of online events to get experience, they thrive too. You know, will we see Alive pull a ByuL on us? It's possible. Looking at his current win ratio, looking at his current level of performance, Alive is one to watch this year, no doubt about it.
Agree.
Well,
early too. We'll have to see where this goes.
Oh yeah, this is only March. There's so much more that he could accomplish this year. Really looking forward to seeing that, because he's such a fun player to watch. And it's just a big nostalgia trip for me, you know? Nothing wrong with that. A lot of us have been around this scene for a long time, so it's great to see an old school player doing well once again. However, he is going to have to face yet another incredible challenge. We've got 2 more players left on the docket, folks, and I'm not messing around. Every now and again, towards the end of ShoutCraft Kings, we kind of, I don't know, ease off. It's a little bit anticlimactic with the level of players we have. Not this time. An hour earlier in Korea means more Koreans ready to fight. Which is why I bought ByuL.
You may be expecting to see Ting plans. We don't do plans. We do rates. Plans require you to guess how many minutes, messages, and megabytes of data you're going to use each month. If you use more than you thought you would, you're punished. If you use less, you're wasting money. Unless you have a magic 8-ball that tells you exactly how much you're going to use, a plan can be a losing proposition. Instead of offering plans, Ting's simple rates adjust to how much or how little you use each month. On Ting, minutes, messages, and megabytes of data are independent of each other. You only pay for the level you reach for each one. If you go over 1 month, you switch to pure per unit pricing. If you don't use any text messages, you don't pay for any text messages. If you use less than 100 megabytes of data 1 month, you pay for less than 100 megabytes of data that month. As a result, your monthly Ting bill can be different from month to month as your usage changes. Use less, and you'll pay less. Use more, and you'll pay a little more. Best of all, one account can have multiple phones under it. All your phones draw from the same pool of minutes, messages, and megabytes. An active phone costs just $6 per month. The more phones on your account, the less you pay per phone on average. $6 per phone on your account, plus whatever you use that month, plus only those taxes and fees we're legally required to remit on your behalf, equals your monthly Ting bill. Ting doesn't charge recovery, admin, or any other cash grab fees. On Ting, we want you to save money, and we made it easy to do. By using Wi-Fi at home or at work, you avoid using mobile data when you don't need to. So just by turning on Wi-Fi on your phone, you save money. We also give you tools that put you in control, so you can save even more. We made it easy to set rules for an individual phone, or for your account as a whole. Creating one of these rules is as simple as completing a sentence. For example, say you want to be alerted the moment your phone has used 200 voice minutes. When Dad's phone exceeds 200 minutes, do this, email. Take it a step further by setting a cap. Caps allow you to turn off specific services on a specific phone when it reaches a level you choose. For example, when daughter's phone exceeds 500 megabytes, do this, turn off data. One note when setting caps. It's always a good idea to build in a little wiggle room. You're in control of your bill with Ting. You get the tools and the tips you need to save money on mobile each month. Ultimately, the less you pay us, the happier we are. That's how business works, right?
All right, another
bought, I mean
TVZ.
brought.
Maybe you bought him.
I bought, no, I did not. I don't own a team anymore.
You didn't buy him?
Yeah, you know, I actually did at one point attempt to get ByuL on Axiom. It was a while ago. Didn't happen.
But you guys
Unfortunate.
were like, he'll probably end up being nothing.
No. We saw his potential, no doubt. Especially back then, but it was unfortunate. There's so many players, so I was like, what if they were on our team? Would that have, like, changed anything? And I'm thinking, probably not. But hey, he's a great player right now, and he's performing really well at the moment. This should be a really good matchup between these two. Like, I don't know, would you say that this is ByuL's peak performance at the moment? I mean, I'd certainly say it's Alive's right now, but what about ByuL?
It's up there, for sure. I don't know that it's his absolute best, but he's like constantly, you know, around the final-ish level of each tournament, so doing something right.
I would say so. He is currently ranked in the top 10 for Korean players on Legalak, which is very impressive. He just murdered a whole bunch of people 2 days ago in the VSL. 2-1 Hero, 2-0 Beyond, 1-0, just obviously best of one, but best of one nonetheless, against TY, and also beat Hero as well in the best of one. So, not somebody to be messed with at this point.
Beating TY, ZBT, earns big props in my book. That's his TVZ looks so like systematically up, down, hard to beat, and impossible that any Zerg that overcomes that is incredible.
I agree. Recent wins as well in the SSL against Bunny, and player I'm actually not familiar with. I should probably look into this guy. Machinade is a new, unfamiliar Korean face. Not really sure who that was.
That's a dietary supplement in Korea. That's not a player.
Really? I will have to look that up. That doesn't sound right, but I don't know enough about dietary supplements to dispute it. Never mind. It's always interesting to see the up-and-coming Koreans, because half of them are just renamed for... It's like, oh, it's this guy, okay. But no, if he's a genuine up-and-coming, then that's really cool. Maybe I'll invite him to the event, see how he does. Well, one way or the other, I doubt he'd want to be fed to either of these guys. Northwest position, ladies and gentlemen, in the red trunks playing Zerg, it is ByuL. Versus his opponent to the southeast position in the blue trunks playing Terran. He's got a 2-win streak, and he's on a career high right now. It's alive. It's alive!
Alive!
Had to do it. At least once.
Might be one of the first times that joke's been made.
Yeah, possibly.
He's alive!
Even if not, I'm very much in favor of recycling and repurposing. We're very green on this show, in more ways than one.
I agree. I also think there's another layer of humor, and that's if you can say something so cheesy or so corny that it comes full circle, that in and of itself has its own value, you know?
I would agree with that. I don't place necessarily much value on good jokes.
Sure. You know, I mean, if you think about it, if a good or bad joke makes you laugh, and that was the end result that it was desired for, then how do you place value on it, right? Like, if I say something so stupid and you laugh, how is that different from me saying so stupid or saying something so smart that you laugh, you know?
An interesting philosophical question. You get Starcraft and life lessons right here on this show. What? Couldn't ask for anything more, really.
No. You could ask for people to check out our lovely sponsors. They could check out the voice pack. I think what I also need, I'm going to make this request too. I'm going to selflessly plug myself. I need about 7,000 of you to follow me on Twitter so I can finally hit 100,000. You guys just put a bullet in it. iNcontroL TV on Twitter, just frickin' do it.
Do it. Like, feel free to even unfollow me and follow him. I don't need the pain in the ass right now anyway.
Well, the nice thing about Twitter is you don't have to unfollow anyone. They give you all the follows you like.
I just want people to unfollow me, honestly.
Oh, okay.
It's just less stressful that way. I don't have to watch my words if nobody actually follows me.
Yeah,
Alright, let's have a look at the situation that we have right here. The GSL version of a ByuL Reef, once again. ByuL taking his third base. So far, so relatively passive, but it's going to be a nice little catch here. Alive's going to be able to grab that Overlord. There are a couple of links.
Is he?
Oh, no, he is not.
Is he going to?
I keep forgetting
Must
it's
have been
ByuL.
something TotalBiscuit said.
Well, I did curse. No doubt. Oh, the Widow Mine with the blue on blue, unfortunately.
Wait, actually, someone get it.
And that Overlord is like, my master plan revealed! And some wonderful villainous cackle. That is the least villainous cackle I have ever heard.
What, that sound of it? Or yours?
Mostly yours. It was like the cooing of a very small owl.
You know, when an Overlord makes a sound, especially like an aquatic one, that's what my mind's locked on. When you pointed out that there's bubbles rising, I've been noticing it's not happening, but have you seen this map where things die and they float up to the, up into your eyes?
Yeah, I have seen that, yeah.
I used to think that's a physics bug, but maybe it's because we're underwater.
It was actually, yeah, it actually was. I think it was a community-made map. They didn't want it in competitive because it's highly distracting.
Oh, it is?
Yeah, I believe that's also the reason the shark doesn't move. You see the center of the map, that shark?
Oh my god, it doesn't move! Sharks always move!
Indeed. They actually die if they don't, I think. That's probably an urban legend of some sort.
Dude.
It is. How depressing. Well, this may be more than just a dead shark, but nice defense once again from Alive. Blocks off his natural ramp. Lings do a little damage, but not too much. Yeah. Fairly solid defense up to this point. In the meantime, there's the drop, but a lot of Lings already prepared to deflect, and I don't know, great positioning from Alive is getting him a hell of a lot more kills than he frankly has any right to. Yeah, and he's getting out as well. What a sneaky, sneaky Pete. He's out of there with bare minimum health on the medevac.
Waiting for one of the fish to slam into the side of it and blow it up over there.
That would be really unfortunate, but hilarious.
You're like, it gets away. Like, what? Oh, Widow Mine's still in the middle line. Actually gets another shot off.
12 workers going down right there. Yeah. I believe that was probably in addition to the 7 that were killed, because I think it does take a while. It usually counts them up, but yeah, 36 workers now here for ByuL on 3 bases. He could certainly replenish that, but it's Alive dropping again and making drops work, and if you thought it was something of an innocuous generic comment that we just throw out because we don't really know anything, oh no. Alive is actually that good. The Hellions not really getting a huge amount done, but 6 more on top of already damaged economy, that matters.
Well, behind that, there was actually a Raven dropping off an auto turret that killed 4 drones.
Ah, that would explain it. I was like, I didn't think the Hellions killed that many. Well, there you go.
It's just, when you watch Alive play, and what's so fun is, like, in this case, you know, ByuL's not dead, by the way, and if anything we've learned, ShoutCraft Kings March is that comebacks are real.
They are.
I'm going to hold off on comments, but when Alive plays another player that's really aggressive and harassy and scrappy, that's my favorite StarCraft. I love that stuff so much, where it's just like everything's on fire, everything's blowing up, low econ, low supply, but both players fighting tooth and nail to live the whole time. So fun.
I am not going to dispute that. That's very enjoyable. We have yet more harass going on there. Shut down. ByuL starting to get a little bit of a handle on it. Certainly not dark level of drop defense, no doubt, but Alive's drops are that damn good, I don't think it matters. Whatever level of defense you've got is probably just not going to be quite enough.
Yep. What I like about this, too, this Raven's just parked up here at the top end of the map. It's just going to keep doing that. What are you going to, like, leave 4 queens there? And even if you do with focus fire, it still kills a drone or 2.
Yeah.
It just costs energy. Like, a PDD later is nice, but otherwise, this Raven, this is its role. And unless you go Spire, it'll do this forever, which is amazing.
As you say that, you summon it. Aspire was built the second you mentioned it, but you're totally right. What an incredible piece of kit that auto turret now is. It used to be an absolute joke. Now, it's a devastating piece of machinery.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Its cooldown, or excuse me, like the cooldown on the auto turret itself is quite low. It will not stay around very long.
No, it will not.
But it packs such a wallop that, thank God that's the case, because otherwise it would be a ridiculous thing to deal with.
Well, I recall when they hung around for like 2 minutes if you got the renewable materials or whatever it was called. It's like, this is just silly. I prefer abilities that have immediate, meaningful impact. They're just more fun to watch in general. And as you can see, these Terran players are starting to get the hang of it and realizing even a single Raven can be worth its weight in gold.
Well, it was a good change, too, because it didn't scale well. Later in the game, because it had such low damage but stuck around a long time, it just didn't do anything. Like good upgrades and good numbers of units. A little bit of a Widowmine drop here.
All right, well, Live is also pushing as well in the meantime. He needs to kind of get the hell out of there. The Widowmine drop killing another 9 drones as he does that. These full frontal attacks seem to be designed to distract ByuL and prevent him from properly defending against this drop harass.
Yeah, Alive's just getting the better end of it. He's ahead in supply now. Yes, he was out there kind of fishing for creep, but I mean, look at how uncomfortable ByuL is even trying anything. He's just going for a massive amount of Ling Baneling with good upgrades, but he is upgrading that air attack upgrade, so while no mutas have shown themselves just yet, you can be assured that he will. Maybe Corruptors. I keep saying that. I keep doing this thing where I'm like, maybe something interesting, but it probably won't be.
Well, I like the idea of Mutalisks, because I think that's a good move against Alive. Obviously, Alive is very fast in his response with Marines on the ground, but just being able to have something that can chase down drops and also provide harassment of his own, because as you've clearly seen, the ground harassment isn't working. Oh my god, lovely mine hit. Lovely.
And he drops a Marine on top of the Banelings to blow up 5 Banelings there as well.
There was an attempted Baneling run by that got really nothing done, so yeah, maybe airplay is the answer. Even chases these Banelings down with a Hellbat and keeps it alive too. What a great trade. Alive is doing work here, and ByuL, as good as a player as he is, doesn't really seem to be on the same level right now.
He has a little bit of that ByuL feel from last year, where it was just like, every time you looked at something he was doing, he wasn't mis-microing it, he was not controlling it, he was there, controlling it to its fullest.
Yeah. He makes everything have value. Here's a bust, but with the deployment of that Widowmine, most of those Banelings do get killed. He breaks through, but at the cost of a lot of Banelings, and unfortunately that means that his defense at home is woefully lacking, and there are mines in the mix as well, and that 4th is gone, and so is ByuL. GG. 3 maps on the board for Alive.
And in, like, very convincing fashion. As you pointed out, ByuL is hitting his stride. His ZVT results have been really good, but that was, you know, I'll just come out and say that was a bad game.
That was a mauling.
Exactly right. It was a bad game / mulling because of how well Alive played. It's not like ByuL did something weird or chose to make some really crazy choice. He just got mauled, like you said.
Yeah, that was super impressive, honestly, from Alive. Very, very good. And that puts him 3 maps in. And a very good chance, of course, of being the reigning king of the hill for next month's event, because there's only 1 player left to face him. Very impressive.
Can't help but to feel like you just cursed him, but yeah. We'll see. I
mean, I know who this player is, and he's pretty damn amazing, but Alive is really on fire right now. I'm trying to think of, like, you know, what is Alive's weakness at the moment? I mean, we saw him he got a pounding versus Neeb, but he turned it around. So even if he does maybe have a weakness versus Protoss at the moment, which I certainly do not believe that he does, then... And that just didn't so much give it away, but yes, we'll say the final player is a Protoss player. I'll leave you to imagine who that might be. But I just don't see all that many holes in Alive's play at the moment. And even when he does make a mistake, he's able to somehow rally and just throw into another gear.
Yeah, but I mean, you're being scientific about if he makes a mistake. So far, like, he was up against the ropes against Neeb, and that was mostly because Neeb was, like, executing a very good strategy and a very good timing attack, but then he just rolls out with this army that's 500 times larger than Neeb's, and he attacks in the right places, and you know, he hits the 4th while also dropping the main and holding the ramp. Like, both those choices, it's very easy to look past it and be like, oh yeah, of course he did that, but it's like, no, I mean, a lot of players would drop in the mineral line, and then they're not holding the ramp, and then that army gets up the ramp and holds off that attack, etc., etc. The point is, he's making all of these really good choices consistently.
And there is a notion that a player can really get into the groove, get momentum, get warmed up, and go on a hot streak, which is exactly what Alive's currently doing. And regardless of having maybe seen their previous play, if you're not warmed up, if you're not ready to go, you may very well just get whacked by somebody like that who clearly is not feeling tired. Alive is so fast and so reactive at the moment. He is clearly not fatigued in any way. But he is going to be stretched against his last opponent, no doubt. I'll unveil it momentarily, but I'd like to give a preemptive thank you to all of you for watching. We've had a great tournament today. Tons of viewers across all of our streams, and of course, big thanks to our foreign language streamers, O Gaming TV, Crank TV, Take, EMC, and of course, Starladder, our new Russian partners. Big thanks to all of you for making this event, again, a success. Hopefully you've enjoyed it. We've got one more match to show you, and it's gonna be a good one. You can see the player in here. I have no doubt that you're feeling quite excited about this.
In the short list of people being discussed as the best of their respective race, he's one of them. It's awesome.
That he is. This may very well be an excellent matchup. I certainly hope so. I'm not going to declare that it will be, because I'll curse it. You know how it works. Alive reigns on top of his throne. He must face down one final challenger, a pretender perhaps. It's Classic.
Classic, again, it's like him and Stats. Stats has the more impressive results right now, but Classic in execution, and if you watch him play, is not far behind. He's way up there. Like I said, probably number 2 or 3 in terms of best Protoss. And yeah. I, in particular, like, I like Alive's play, but I like his TVP the most. The drop-heavy, fast-paced assault style is really fun to watch.
It is awesome. And it's a feel-good story, I think, to see one of the old-school players doing as well as he is and having that second coming. But he's going to face down Classic. Classic is not to be screwed with under any circumstances. He has been playing out of his mind recently as well. He's been competing in a lot of online tournaments. He's actually been something of a tyrant in Holy Mo League lately. Like, going through tournaments and, in fact, very recently 2-0ing Alive in the February finals. So, this will be an interesting matchup, yeah. I'm intrigued to see how it goes. And this will be, of course, our final map. We're going to be playing it on Newkirk Precinct. And here we go. To the southwest position, ladies and gentlemen, the final challenger. In the red trunks playing Protoss, It's Classic. His opponent, the reigning king of the hill, looking indeed to tie the greatest streak for today, which he could very well do. Looking to tie it up with Hero in the southeast position, playing out of his mind, not only today, but this entire year. In the Blue Trunks playing Terran, it's alive.
Newkirk, again, we saw it, I can't remember the match now, but 5 pylons dedicated to holding off that drop spot. Well, it's going to be interesting to see how Alive gets in there, because that's just like a very well-known facet of this map. You're going to get dropped. It's very drop-heavy. When they're dropping you, there's more than likely an army making its way to your third right now. So that's kind of the song and dance between the two. But Alive's very creative with his drops and with his harass. He'll show up at weird spots. Like we saw, he went for the ramp. He did not go for the mineral line with that definitive drop to beat Neeb, and that was a big deal.
No doubt about that. If anyone can find it in, it will be Alive. He always seems to find a way. Classic, on the other hand, just great at every matchup. Superbly confident in his abilities. Rightfully so. Cheeky little move by Alive there. It's like, I'm going to block it. Well, I'm just going to build it 1 square to the left.
Yeah, and of course, you can just move it there.
Of course.
But it's nice things like that are, you know, that's a relatively inexpensive thing for Classic to do that can have big repercussions. How many times do we see Terrans make weird mistakes where, like, maybe they don't move it, or they do move it, but something got under it, so it never landed. They don't notice for a minute or two. And all that cost the Protoss was just a few minerals for the cancellation. So it's, on the one hand, there's a lot of people that are like, yeah, but they're mega sacred about the money that they have at that part of the game. But then at the other hand, it's kind of nice to try and throw your opponent off and get in their head a little bit.
True enough. Classic, of course, could be the spoiler here. Lovely defense by Alive, though, just keeping that SCV alive and just a couple of hit points.
Yeah, if you lose that SCV right there, that's a huge deal.
It is.
Delays the expansion by a lot. Yeah. Even having the Reaper come back is really nice, by the way, because it's going to show up, and, well, it might still scout the Stargate. Is there nothing out, actually?
There is an Adept in fairly good position. It may very well shut that down quite quickly. Alive just goes up, sees Pylon. I don't know if it's going to be able to get in there. Not with that Reaper. It could be tricky. Maybe if he went around the side, he might find a way in, but it looks like he's being warded off, and Alive lacking in information right now. Always a dangerous position to be in.
Yeah, and a lot of Terrans will actually shoot a scan in the main if they can't get the Reaper there, but if it's like a 50-50 split, the other set of Terrans will never scan because each of those mules are like accounted for, loses the Reaper, sees 2 Adepts. That doesn't really sell him on much. If anything, that could actually warn him, excuse me, of like that kind of stuff we've seen earlier with a Adept Warp Prism, which would be really scary. But he's just going to go for a drop, and that's going to be where he gets his information.
The Classic. That's really confusing. The Common. No, that sounds too demeaning. The Robust 6 Marine. I'll work. 1 Widowmine drop is on the way. There are quite a few Adepts already in position, but of course, a Widowmine with the right placement is dead.
Oh.
That was shut down hard. Classic with the Oracle ready to go. Not even messing around. I mean, he's had the chance to watch Alive, and even if he didn't, on this map, it's not like drops aren't uncommon. And in fact, with that Phoenix out, it's just causing Alive all sorts of problems.
Yeah, you can almost just kind of blindly expect the Stargate because of how common drops are. That drop attack that we saw from Alive still isn't a bad idea, even with all that. I mean, yes, he loses the Widowmine, but everything else gets home. But there are perfectly reasonable scenarios where the Oracle's halfway across the map, the Widowmine gets a 6 probe kill, and then all of a sudden that completely transforms the game. Early game probe death is huge. But neither player gets a big win there. I would say if anyone got a big win, it would be Classic. Deflecting that and showing Phoenix is a nice little moment in time there.
Pylons being placed in an interesting little arrangement over there, giving him a lot of nice defensive options from little potential run-bys and all sorts of things like that. Not too bad an idea. Potentially easy to pick off, but as long as he stays on top of it with the Mothership Core, he should be okay. Mines on the way. Outside of that, just getting Stim and Combat Shield. Alive probably not going to be able to get too much done until that's active, and the first couple of medevacs now on the board. In the meantime, that third base is up and functional for Classic. Uncontested, I might add.
Mm-hmm. And a really important thing is happening right now, where Classic is pulling through the main, went through the natural, and did not see a third orbital. This tells him, and this is something that's happening right now, where Terrans are very actively deciding when they're facing Phoenix Adept to just do a 2-base timing attack. And it's been broadcast, it's very clear that's what's happening here. But all this damage from the Phoenix is like, Alive might have to make a different choice, because an attack here would also not work at all.
And the problem is, you know, he lost the medevac and the other one got beaten up really badly. He got SCVs picked off left, right, and center, so his production expansion was delayed. Everything looked good, and we're finally seeing a player who seems to be able to keep up with this drop play. The Widowmine picked up before much damage was done. The occasional probe here and there, which frankly is not enough, because with these Phoenixes, those medevacs are guaranteed to die. That was a full energy medevac that he could have really used in a push.
Yeah. Well, I mean, early game medevacs, if probes are an important deal, early game medevacs are a huge deal. Look how weird this army looks out here with just the one medevac. There's going to be a second and a third to join it, but if that's 4 medevacs, this is a very potent army. All of a sudden, it can stand up to things like Adepts and Phoenix. But it's just looking a little bit more pathetic here. And he is actually, I saw a third queued up. Yep, there it is. So he is actually going to take a third. I feel like this is a development from the idea that he wanted to do a 2-base timing attack, but not only did it get fully scouted, but as you pointed out, the production SCVs were killed, so it slowed down his ability to make this army bigger than it even is right now.
Yeah. So Alive decides to go for a third, but that's a heavily delayed third. Another drop shut down. It seems like the strategy of Classic is just put pylons everywhere, and we can easily catch it. Just make sure the Mothership Core is where it needs to be. And if there's any gaps in the defenses, the Phoenix will provide great sweeping ability. So Alive saying, all right, okay, I'm going to get another base, but ultimately the Protoss has had another base for the last 5 minutes.
Oh my god. This is so Alive, by the way.
Doom drop.
Yeah, he's just like, well, I'm way behind, so let's just put it on a drop now.
It might work. The Revelation did drop, but I mean, this stuff is already in the base now, and trying to find a hole, but there's so many Adepts. We're gonna have to see how well these Widowmines do. Oh, excellent hits going on right there, but there's still an overwhelming number of Adepts, and those Phoenixes are gonna be a problem. Let's see how much more damage Alive can actually do here. In the meantime, he's fighting Pylons who are not fighting back, and I'm just not seeing economic damage. He's not got to the probe lines yet.
No, he kills a couple of Pylons. There's a counterattack coming into the tail end of this Photon Overcharge, so that's not going to do anything. And ultimately, if you're trading your bio army for Adepts, it's like, it's not a good trade, is the long story short there. The Protoss is happy to lose those Adepts, as long as they have other options, which he does have. He's been upgrading off his Forge. Actually, he's not really teching beyond that. Now that I said it, it is just purely Adepts, but he's still okay, because he's been on 3 bases forever this whole time.
Photon cannons now being put down to deal with these Widowmines. We're gonna have to see quite a few more Widowmines on the defense, because Classic is starting to posture and thinking, you know what, I think that third looks a bit tasty, I think I can get at it. And he may very well be right, but honestly, the army supply of Alive is surprisingly high.
It's huge, and there's no Photon Overcharge in the northern base. It's coming up on 50, so he'll have 1 Photon Overcharge. But if he does a pylon that these Marines can stim and shoot, they'll actually kill it pretty quick.
Well, we're about to see what's going to happen here. He really wants that third base. The Harass obviously going in the third. Alive looking to do damage, but yeah, lots of pylon overcharge. Very, very weak units. Just a couple of warpins shuts that down. And will the Adepts actually engage? He's going for it. He's going for it. There are quite a few mines.
He killed his own army.
Oh, yeah, but it's enough to clean up the Adepts, though. Regardless of the splash damage, these 2 Adepts are doing a good job massacring this mineral line, but Alive holds on, and honestly, the amount of investment the Classic just put into that, the army supply tells the story.
Yeah, and I've seen this play out so many times this way, where just now he's adding a second Robo, he's going to head towards Colossus, but otherwise he has all these Adepts, and I just feel like the bio just like leaves it behind so far as time goes on. Alive should just be walking across, it's loading up for a drop. I think this is actually, strangely enough, Classic's best opportunity to clean up that army, but as I say that, the Adepts are all the way across. They're mid-map. So
yeah, we see an attempt
wrong.
to take a fourth there by Classic. He's using Wraith Form to get across as quickly as he can, but damage is going to be done here. The thing is, Alive did decide to attack a base that was basically mined out, but he did manage to shut down the Stargate, a lot of warp gates, looking to do damage with those mines, kite him around. Didn't get a huge number of connections, but he's on the third now as well. He's going to hit the natural, and finally, after 11 minutes, Alive is able to find the economic damage he was looking for.
Classic cannot keep up. Our
Oh my god.
Is going to be here next month, I'll tell you that right now. He's playing a Man on Fire. He actually left a trail of Widow Mines for the pursuing army.
Believable.
Going into that fourth, and now he's going to knock down.
Oh,
it didn't quite work.
Man, if he'd collapsed on that, that would have been the coup de grace. But even then, 41 SCVs killed, and Alive's production is getting hammered here as well. There are still units everywhere. Even with an upgrade disadvantage, it doesn't matter. Alive found, finally, a way in. Those Widow Mines proved to be absolutely key, and his ability to path around and kite over those paths of Widow Mines was extremely effective when Classic decided to stick to a unit that seemed not able to keep up.
Yeah, just everywhere. And look back at his third, by the way. Giant army.
G.
Well played by Alive.
Well played.
We were talking about, missing out on that streak. Well, you got your streak. I think that's 5 games.
It was 4, but it was
just 4?
It's just 4, yeah. Just against some of the best players in the world.
And a couple of those were dominance, too. Like, they made for bad games because he played so well.
Excellent. Just unbelievable play. That ties him up with Hero, who we started the tournament with a streak, we ended it with a streak, which is a wonderful little bookend there. Hero with a streak of 4, and Alive with a streak of 4 as well. Extremely impressive play on his part, dealing with 3 great Protoss players, and of course a Zerg player as well. It was awesome to watch. And he's going to be a great king for next month, I can tell you that for a fact. That's going to be a very challenging person to beat with his current form.
Yeah, he's looking really good. And like you said, across all 3 matchups. So it's not even like, well, he's just got to avoid such and such. It's like, nah, he looked pretty damn sharp in all 3 matchups.
Extremely impressive. Well, that was a really great tournament. That had a ton of great matchups, and even the ones that weren't were entertaining and maybe a little bit silly. I think Sue's baneling nonsense will go down in history, looking to be the spiritual successor to ST, perhaps. But Alive, and of course Hero, may be the stories of the tournament. Incredible play from them. Very impressive. And of course, who can forget Stats, who beat Sue and Ryung and Nurchio before eventually falling to Gumiho, of all people. What an event. Excellent.
It's been good.
So fun. Great to cast.
Yeah, great games, good casts. Shout out to all the players showing up and playing, at not necessarily the best hour, not necessarily the best server, but they all put a great effort. Nobody phoned it in. Even our GSL matchup was, if it was a phone in, it was in good effort and good faith, and that was awesome and fun.
I enjoyed it an awful lot, and hopefully you guys did as well. If you missed any of the matchup today, don't worry. If you're a subscriber to the Twitch channel, you have instant access to the VODs right now. You can go watch the whole damn thing, anything that you missed. If you're not, don't worry. We're going to be uploading the edited spoiler-free VODs over to youtube.com/TotalBiscuit. They'll be coming up in the next couple of days. I'd like to express our thanks to Crank and Olivia. Olivia, our admin. Crank, he's very much our, if he was a political guy, he'd be a party whip. He just whips around and tries to get everybody to attend, gets all these players from Korea, helps liaise. He's invaluable to our team. And of course, then goes and casts the whole thing because, he hasn't done enough work already, right? Big thanks to our foreign language casters. O Gaming in French, Star Ladder in Russian, Crank, of course, in Korean, Naruto and Take TV in German, and Emil in Polish. Big thanks to all of you. You are invaluable. And last but by no means least, of course, our sponsors, Blizzard Entertainment and shoutcraft.ting.com, mobile that makes sense. Check them out if you are looking for or in the market for a new cell phone plan that doesn't cost you quite as much and doesn't waste your money. Sounds like a good idea to me as far as I'm concerned. Congratulations to all of our players today, and big thanks to Alive for such an awesome performance. He will join us next month in ShoutCraft Kings April as the reigning, defending King of the Hill. Thank you, of course, to you as well, Jeff, for, as usual, getting up at such silly, unsociable hours.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me. It's always one of my favorite highlights of the month. It's been great.
It's been a lot of fun. Hopefully next month's will be as good, if not better. We'll try and find you some more exciting players, maybe a few new faces if we can get them. And thank you, of course, for watching. Sticking around for the last 6 hours, we hope that you were suitably esports entertained. I'm sure that you were. I think we're about done. Thanks for watching again. Catch the VODs and subscribers to twitch.tv/TotalBiscuit or later on in the next couple of days on youtube.com/TotalBiscuit. And of course, there's more excellent StarCraft going on today. The monthly finals for Ladder Heroes for both NA and EU, they're going to be happening, so keep an eye out for that. I believe that is going to be over on Fear Dragon's channel, so you can find it over there. The stream is twitch.tv/FearDragon64. That is twitch.tv/FearDragon64. You're going to be seeing some of the players that we saw today, in fact. Should be a great event. A lot of StarCraft, let's just say. If you're not all exhausted today, there is more coming your way. We're done. I'm going to bed. I didn't even sleep last night. The anticipation was just too much.
Oh my god.
Keep an eye on your email if you submit it to the Ting line. We'll be emailing our 5 winners of the voice pack over the next day or so. So keep an eye out for that. If you win a pack, then congratulations. You get to hear my voice for free, because you don't already hear enough of that. If not, you can pick up my voice pack in-game for $7.49, which is a bargain at half the price. Wait, twice. No. Actually, you know what? I got it right the first time. Jeff, thanks for casting, and thanks for you guys for watching. We'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.